The world is not what we think. Waking up in the Matrix, Part 2. This is a more extensive video to the one that we aired yesterday. It will be covering a lot of subjects. Same man. He'll be covering the North Pole, Hollow Earth, the Vatican, CERN, the coming Ice Age, the current war we're facing, and more. Also, What Child Sacrifice happened on BBC4 and it was live streamed in 2010, New Year's Eve, in the name of Christ. Some of you may know this. We need to start knowing and we need to stop guessing. Start freeing your mind today.
Here's the global map, but you should know that there are openings at the North Pole and the South Pole. The opening at the North Pole is approximately 1,300 miles wide. The South Pole opening is approximately 900 miles wide, but covered in mostly ice, so not visible. If you look at a picture of the Earth from space, you will see it's not round, but has flattened top and bottom. And that's where the depression starts to go in to the inside of the Earth. I recently saw an old video of Admiral Byrd giving an interview. I believe it was from early 1950s on television, NBC. And he said that Americans don't know that at the South Pole is a huge undiscovered nation that we have no idea what is there. And that's because he saw it, and it was the Schwabenland. It was the German colony in there. I know I'm going to many different topics, but these are things you need to know. CERN, or the Hadron Collider. It is not for the purpose of discovering the so-called God particle, but rather it is to create a collapse of alternate universes into this one, where the Illuminati have already gained control. So they are tapping in through those vortices that I mentioned to you earlier by knowing the frequencies of those alternate realities and merging them into this one. Now, here's the good news. Good news is that those beings in the Kuiper Belt are sabotaging this, and that is why the CERN has shut down more times than it started up. Every time they start it up, there's a problem. It's sabotaged because the beings don't want them to do this. So many of you, many of my clients have reported to me dreams where they see themselves in another reality or a different life that is nothing like the one they have now, or they see images of possible events that are going on. And this is a result of the residue of the CERN or Hadron Collider. By the way, did you know that the Vatican has an office in CERN? Yes, and underneath CERN, you can see here the range of the collider, and there are tunnels. I knew a nurse who works at CERN near Geneva, and she told me that there are tunnels deep underneath that no one is allowed to go in. But she knows and has been told they go all the way to France, into Italy, under the lake, and no one knows what's under there. But occasionally, she will get a patient who has come from this tunnel, one of the tunnels, with injuries that she has never seen before in her life. And when she asks what happened to them, they refuse to tell her. So there's something going on deep underneath CERN, which maybe is bringing in beings from alternate realities that may be not so nice. Now, besides the Vatican having an office at CERN, they also have an observatory in Arizona called Lucifer. You know this, yes? Yes. Why would the Vatican have an observatory called Lucifer? Very interesting, yes? Well, I'll explain to you. I also, in my many travels and connections, met a woman who worked for the Pope in the Vatican. This was Ratzinger, Pope. And she said he was a very evil man. very mean and very nasty. And that she was told that Catholicism is for the public, that they themselves in the Vatican do not believe this, that history of the Christ figure was very different than what they have told you, and that they have removed many passages from the Old and New Testament in order to cover up the truth. And of course, that's, again, a whole nother lecture, but will result in the formation of New World religion, which will include ritual and sacrifice and abuse as being common. You may not know that in 2010, on New Year's Eve, BBC4 had a show at midnight of a Catholic Chinese person eating a dead baby in the name of Christ. And this was on television. This is the type of ritual that will become commonplace in the New World religion. And there are other, look what's in front of CERN, the god, the deity of Shiva, the destroyer. What are they going to destroy? They're going to destroy your civilization, which may not be such a bad thing, but has to be done in the right way. And this is just scientific information. Fermilabs is the sister collider to Hadron Collider. Hadron Collider is in Geneva. Fermilab Collider is outside of Chicago. And it's very interesting that ever since they have turned on energy at the Fermilab, O'Hare Airport in Chicago reports very frequently phantom jets. And so incoming planes are suddenly diverted to avoid collision with the planes that are not physically there, but appear on radar. So perhaps they are opening up the alternate realities in this area as well. By the way, they are planning to open a third collider in Japan, which I think is quite ridiculous given the seismic and tectonic situation in Japan. But I'm working with several people in Japan to prevent the destruction of that country, because the 13 Illuminati families are seeking to destroy the 14th Illuminati family, which is the Japanese royal family. Reason being, because they're not European-based. The other 13 are. And there's more to that, again, but actually, I believe that might be in my True World History book, which just came out a few months ago. Yes, so we just go through this. These are just the scientific slides. Now, all of these people that you see here, Snowden and Assange and Manning, who's no longer a man, now he's womaning. These are, let's say, saboteurs of the Illuminati, yes? My opinion is that these people had Kuiper Belt programming. Yes, Kuiper Belt has programmed people on this planet to sabotage the Illuminati. And the ones you see here are the ones who are responsible for at least some of it. The Romanovs, yes. Unfortunately, my great-uncle Yakov ordered their assassination. And in Russia, I was asked, I had to go to the cathedral in St. Petersburg to apologize to the Romanovs on behalf of my family. And I did so. And then I did a seminar in Yekaterinburg, which is where the Romanovs were assassinated. And there again, I had found out from KGB that my great-uncle assassinated or murdered over 1 million Soviet people. And so I apologize again on behalf of my family, and their reaction was, oh, forget about it. And they asked me to run for president of Russia. I'm not joking with you. My point with all this is, if you look at the Russian flag, which, by the way, is also red, white, and blue. Since 2012, when I was back in Russia in 2012, I noticed that on the flag was this Romanov emblem right over the top of the stripes of red, white, and blue. Now, this is quite interesting because this is a statement that the Illuminati Romanov family have returned and have taken control again of Russia and actually seek to become the head of Illuminati now. This is why, and I was told by KGB, this is why the Soviet Union is returning. There is a new Soviet Union. It really already exists. And this is why they are pulling in Ukraine and Belarus and Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and they want the rest of it back as well. And I will also tell you that Russia considers Finland to be a province, not a country. And when I don't know if any of you saw the live television show I did in Helsinki a couple of years ago, when the minister asked me on live television to make a prediction for Finland, and I said, well, Soviet Union is coming back. And she gasped, and she says, that's why we joined the EU, to protect ourselves. I said, well, you didn't do a good job, because Finland has only 4.5 million people, yeah? And I walk in Helsinki and other places, and all I hear is Russian, 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 not Finnish. So I said, how come so many Russian people here? And they said, because we let them settle here. I said, oh, do the Russians let the Finnish go to Russia? No. So you're letting the Russians come into Finland and settle here. How much longer will it be until 4.5 million Finns become the minority, and then there's a majority Russian and no more Finland? It's a brilliant idea, right? As far as Ukraine, do any of you speak Russian? In Russian, Ukraina means borderland. So to Russia, Ukraina is just the border with Europe. It is not, that's why Putin said it is not a separate state. He doesn't consider it a state because historically it was simply the border of Russia empire. So this, Americans don't understand history. Americans are not taught true world history. That's why I wrote my books. Because you have a limited view on what really happened and who went where and who controls what. But if you knew the truth about what goes on in Asia and Europe and other places, it would be a different perspective to you. You see? Just like you don't know your own history, that America was colonized by Phoenicians and Minoans and Egyptians 4,000 years ago. Columbus never set foot in North America. He was in the Caribbean. He never set foot. You know what they call Columbus Day in Russia? They call it Indian Massacre Day. Because you know what he did? Besides spreading disease all over the Caribbean, he killed the men and raped and kidnapped the women and children and brought them as slaves. That's why there's no more Taino Indians or Caribbean no more, because he killed them. And you celebrate in October a special day for him. Yes, we talked about the reality, but I want you to know about the frequency bandwidths. Think of existence as a radio. And as you turn the dial to a different frequency, there's another station, a completely different one. And you turn just a little bit more, there's another station. That's existence. Multiple, infinite realities, each in different frequency. All you have to do is tune into that frequency and you are there. That's how it works. And there is equipment that can do it, and your mind can also do this. I'm going to have to go quickly because they're going to get the hook, and that will be it. So This is why I do my work with the Oversoul, which is your higher self, the higher connection to the God mind. And you can see from this grid there that think of that Oversoul as the liaison or connection to the God mind, yes? And all those lines coming down are different life streams or soul personalities. And they intersect with the horizontal lines. Those are realities, where a soul personality intersects with a reality is you, is a lifetime for you. And so all of those points that you see, I only did a few there, those are your alternate selves, your from parallel universes. They're all part of your master intelligence. When the government learned this from the Germans, and they created the mind control, they based the alter personalities on your real alter personalities. That's how they are able to program you to different compartments. And you can see the mirrors reflect each other. They're all reflective. Yes, I'm just going to briefly mention there's a group called the Ohalo Council, which exists in the Kuiper Belt. They claim to have settled on the earth thousands of years ago in ancient Israel. And isn't it interesting that about 6 months ago, the Israeli archaeologists uncovered a settlement near the bottom of the Sea of Galilee, and they said, this is a place called Ohalo. You cannot make this up, people. This is for real. You know about the Wingmakers, yes? You don't? Where have you been, people? This was popular in the 1990s. A cave was discovered in New Mexico with technology, with writing, and with information that said a group of people 600 years in the future had come back to warn you all that your government had been occupied and controlled by an alien force that was evil and destructive. And that was in late 90s. Then the site was shut down. Then 10 years later, site comes back, and it's all commercial music and art and government control, la, 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 and nothing real. So the original Wingmakers, if any of you have that information from 15, 20 years ago, that was more accurate. The information now is from government. Yes, we can. This is all about opening up visualizations for your mind pattern. I have a visualization called Green Spiral Staircase, which is a form of mental time travel. And this will help you to go and see events and images that you have blocked in your mind. I also talk about frequencies like wolf frequency, bear frequency, lion frequency, all these frequencies which help you to access certain information in your energy field and in your mind. Now, you should also be aware, and this is a caution, that not only can you access this information, but you must be careful because the mind control always puts animal or insect alters in your programming matrix. So you may think you're communicating with a dolphin or a lion or some such thing, when in actuality, it is a programming alter within your matrix. So this is why I encourage you to learn about deprogramming techniques and to do this daily. Doing your deprogramming